Hey Reddit. I never thought I'd be one of those people writing on here, but I need to get this out of my system. Maybe someone out there has been through the same thing or has words of wisdom. Maybe I just need to feel like I'm not screaming into the void. I've been married to my wife, Sophie, not her real name, for 8 years, together for 10. We met in our mid 20s. She was sharp, sarcastic, the life of every room. She challenged me in ways no one else ever had. We got married young ish, bought a small house in the suburbs, and lived what I thought was a normal, happy life. No kids by choice. For now, we said. Things were good. Not perfect, what marriage is, but solid. We laughed a lot. We traveled. We were that couple that friends look to as relationship goals. But about 8 months ago, I started to feel off. It's hard to explain. It wasn't anything huge, just little things. A weird, a weird tension in the air. She started guarding her phone more. She got snappier. She began going out more with the girls, and when I'd ask questions, she'd respond with this tone, like I was accusing her of something when I was just curious. I remember the first time it really hit me in the gut. She came home late one Friday night, said they'd gone to a new wine bar downtown. I kissed her hello and she flinched, then gave me a quick peck and disappeared to take a shower. And I stood there in the kitchen, holding her keys, hearing the shower run and thinking, something is wrong. But I pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid, that I trusted her, that I wasn't going to be that guy who accused his wife of cheating just because she was distant for a while. Now I wish I'd trusted my gut sooner. After that night, I started noticing more things that didn't sit right with me. Sophie was always glued to her phone. She used to leave it on the kitchen counter while we watched TV or cooked dinner together. Now it was either in her pocket, under her thigh, or face down on the table, and always on silent. When it buzzed, she'd glance at it, smirk, type something quickly, and lock the screen like she was hiding classified intel. I made a casual joke one night like, "What, you got a secret identity or something?" And she immediately got defensive, said I was being possessive, which caught me so off guard, I just let it drop. Possessive? I literally asked a dumb question because she was acting squirrely, but I started feeling guilty, like I'd done something wrong just by noticing her behavior. Then came the gym obsession. Sophie suddenly got super into fitness, like new leggings every week, joining a different gym 20 minutes away from our house, even though we had one 5 minutes down the road. She claimed it had better classes, and she just felt safer there. At first, I thought, hey, good for her. She's taking care of herself, right? But then she'd come home late from gym sessions, her hair barely damp, barely out of breath, sometimes with makeup still on. She'd shower before leaving, and then again after she got back. Again, I pushed the doubt down. That's what you do when you love someone. You give them the benefit of the doubt. One day, her phone lit up while she was in the shower. I swear I wasn't even trying to snoop. Her phone was just lying there, face up on the nightstand. A text popped up from someone named Kara Yoga. Last night was same time next week. My stomach dropped. Sophie doesn't do yoga. She's made fun of yoga people before, and I've never heard of a Kara. That was the first time I felt it, that electric jolt of panic and dread. I didn't open her phone, it was locked anyway, but that message lived rent-free in my head for days. I tried to ask her casually, "Hey, who's Kara?" She looked at me for a second too long before saying, "Just someone from spin class." Why? I just shrugged and said, "No reason." But inside, I knew. I knew something was happening. About a week after the Kara Yoga text, I couldn't shake the unease. My mind was spinning every night. I'd lie in bed beside Sophie while she scrolled through her phone, screen angled away, and wonder, who the hell is she texting at midnight? My stomach was in knots all the time. Then came the moment everything unraveled. It was a Sunday morning, and Sophie said she was going to brunch with the girls. That wasn't unusual. She did that once or twice a month. But something in her voice felt rehearsed, fake casual. She even added, "You can call Emma if you don't believe me," with this annoyed smirk like I'd already questioned her, which I hadn't. So I waited until she left, sat there for a minute, and made a decision I never thought I'd make. I checked the shared iPad. She had forgotten that our iCloud accounts were still linked. The iMessages synced. My hands were shaking as I opened the app. I scrolled. There were innocent messages to friends, sure, but then I saw the thread with a contact saved as Kara Yoga. Only it wasn't a woman, it was a man. His name was Ben. I don't even know where to start. The texts were filthy, explicit. They talked about hotel meetups, things they'd done in his car, jokes about me. He actually kissed me when I came home, followed by a laughing emoji. He has no idea. I can't explain the mix of nausea and rage I felt. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I went to the bathroom and dry heaved into the sink. My wife, talking to this guy like I was a complete joke, a background character in her little affair fantasy. Then I saw a message from the night before. Ben, can't stop thinking about last night. You're so much better than him. I know. He's clueless. Total beta energy, lol. I sat down on the bathroom floor and just stared at the wall for a long time. Everything in my world had just shifted. This wasn't emotional distance anymore. This was betrayal. Cold, calculated, mocking betrayal. And I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My body was vibrating with this sick mix of fury, humiliation, and heartbreak. I kept replaying those texts in my mind, the mocking tone, the little jabs about me. I thought about every time I made her coffee in the morning, every time I kissed her forehead, every time I said I love you and meant it while she was lying to my face. By the time she got home that afternoon, I had already made up my mind. She walked in with this big fake smile, holding a shopping bag. Hey, babe, she said, tossing her keys into the bowl. Emma says hi. I looked at her and said, calm as I could, how was brunch with Ben? She froze, dead still, like someone hit pause on a movie. Then, in the most pathetic voice, she goes, what are you talking about? So I pulled out the iPad, turned it around, showed her the screen. She didn't even try to look surprised. No gasps, no fake confusion. She rolled her eyes and muttered, I can't believe you went through my messages. That was her response. Not, I'm sorry, not, I can explain, not even, it's not what it looks like. Just that I had invaded her privacy, like she was the victim here. I stood up. My hands were shaking. You've been lying to me, sleeping with someone else, mocking me. And you're mad I found out? She scoffed and crossed her arms. You're so dramatic. It's not like I was in love with him. That actually made it worse. Not only had she cheated, she didn't even care. It wasn't some emotional connection she got swept up in. It was just casual, like hooking up with a Tinder date behind my back was no big deal. I was bored, she finally said. You're always working late. We barely even have sex anymore. I needed something exciting. It wasn't supposed to be serious. I just stared at her, numb. I asked her, how many times? She shrugged. A few. I don't keep a chart. I swear to God, Reddit, I've never felt so hollow. That moment, that was when I knew we were done. After she dropped the I was bored line like it was some kind of excuse, I just shut down. I couldn't speak. My mind was buzzing. My vision felt fuzzy around the edges, and all I could think was, this is real. She's not even sorry. She sat down on the couch like we just had a mild disagreement about laundry, not a full on nuclear relationship meltdown. She pulled out her phone and said, so what now? Are you going to cry and make me feel bad? Because I really don't have the energy. That was the moment I stopped seeing her as my wife. All those years together, holidays, inside jokes, lazy Sunday mornings watching bad TV, just gone, evaporated, replaced by this cold stranger who didn't even flinch after tearing our marriage apart. I want you to leave, I said. She looked up, eyebrows raised. Excuse me? You heard me. I want you out of this house. Today. She actually laughed. This is my house too, babe. I'm not going anywhere. You're being ridiculous. I told her I'd seen enough, heard enough, and that I was done. She started getting loud then, accusing me of overreacting, calling me pathetic, even saying, it was just sex. Get over yourself. Then came the gaslighting. She tried to flip the script, said I was emotionally unavailable, that I was never fun anymore, that I was so busy being the good husband that I forgot how to be exciting. You pushed me away, she said, arms folded like she was the victim. That broke me. I chose you every day, I said. Even when things were hard, even when I was tired, I never stopped showing up for you, and you spat on it, and you don't even care. She just looked at me and said, maybe we were just never a good fit. That was it. 8 years of marriage reduced to a bad fit. After she said, maybe we were just never a good fit, something inside me just snapped. Not in an angry way. It was more like a light switch turning off. I stopped caring about what she had to say. I stopped hoping for remorse. I realized in real time that the woman I fell in love with didn't exist anymore, if she ever did. I told her again that I wanted her out. She refused, of course, said she wasn't going to let me kick her out of her own life. So I did what I never thought I'd have to do in my own home. I walked away. I went to our bedroom, locked the door, and collapsed on the bed. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours, numb and shaking. Then came the rage. I thought about all the times I defended her, to my friends, my family, even myself. Every little red flag I ignored. Every weekend I spent alone while she was out with the girls. Every night I cooked dinner for her while she was texting that asshole. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something, but mostly I just felt used. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I grabbed a blanket and crashed on the couch. She didn't even come check on me. Not a word. Not a knock. Just silence from the woman I used to think I'd grow old with. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made herself coffee, sat at the table scrolling through Instagram. No apology. No, can we talk? Nothing. I couldn't take it anymore. I texted my friend Dan, my best man at our wedding, and asked if I could crash at his place for a few days. Didn't tell him everything, just that things had blown up and I needed space. He said, "Doors open. Come anytime." I packed a bag while she was in the shower. She didn't ask where I was going. She didn't care. And somehow that hurt more than all the cheating combined. I got to Dan's place around 11 a.m. He lives about 20 minutes away, small apartment, nothing fancy. But the moment I stepped inside, it felt like a sanctuary, somewhere not poisoned by her smell, her voice, her lies. He opened the door, took one look at me, and said, "Holy shut, what happened?" I didn't plan on telling him everything. I thought I'd just say we were fighting, maybe taking a break, but the words poured out of me like a broken pipe. The cheating, the texts, the smirk on her face, the way she blamed me for everything. I was pacing his kitchen like a man who had just walked out of a car crash. Dan listened without interrupting, except to say, "Jesus Christ," every 5 minutes. Then he asked, "Do you have proof? Like solid proof?" I handed him the iPad. He scrolled in silence for a long time. Then he looked up and said, "Dude, she's a monster." And you know what? Hearing someone else say it out loud was like permission to finally believe it. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't being sensitive. I wasn't imagining things. This wasn't some little mistake or temporary lapse in judgment. This was a full-blown betrayal, carried out over months with zero remorse. Dan offered me a beer. I drank two in 30 minutes. For the first time, I allowed myself to really talk about how I'd felt ignored for months, how I suspected something but never thought it could be this, how I kept blaming myself, thinking I wasn't enough. He said, "You gave her stability and she went looking for chaos. That's not on you." And I broke. Right there in his damn kitchen, I started crying like a kid, angry, exhausted tears for everything I'd lost, for everything I thought we were, for every lie she told while looking me in the eye. Dan just stood there patting my back, saying, "Let it out, man. You're not alone." It was the first time in days I felt anything close to human again. I stayed at Dan's for 3 days. During that time, she didn't call, didn't text, not even a "where are you?" or "are you okay?" Like she had completely erased me already, like I was some short chapter in her autobiography that she had already flipped past. But on the fourth day, she finally reached out. Not to apologize, not to check if I was okay. No, she texted, "When are you coming back? We need to talk like adults. I think we can work this out." Work this out? I didn't reply right away. I was still too raw. But I went back to the house that evening to grab more of my things. When I walked in, she was sitting on the couch with a glass of wine, dressed like she was about to go on a date. Legs crossed, lipstick, fake smile. "Hey, you," she said like nothing had happened. I said, "I'm just here for clothes." She followed me upstairs and asked, "Are you seriously going to throw everything away over one mistake?" I stopped packing and looked at her. "One?" She hesitated, then caught herself and said, "Okay, maybe it was a few times, but it didn't mean anything." I swear to you, she said that, like it being meaningless made it better. I told her I'd read the messages, all of them. I mentioned specific lines. Her face twisted when I brought up the joke about me being a boring accountant husband. Her response? "You weren't supposed to see that. It was just venting." That was her defense. That she got caught saying what she really felt, and it was my fault for reading it. Then here comes line number two. She told me she had already ended it with Ben. I said, when? She stammered. A while ago. I told her I'd seen a message from 2 days ago, after the confrontation, saying, he's being such a baby. I might be free tonight if he leaves again. Her face went pale. That's when she started unraveling. Said I was stalking her. Said I was being controlling. Said I was making it impossible for her to feel safe in her own home. Let me say this clearly for anyone reading. When someone cheats and then flips the script to make themselves the victim, run. Don't walk, run. She tried to play the mental health card, claimed she was in a dark place and needed validation, said I should understand because I'm supposed to be her partner. No responsibility, no remorse, just manipulation. I packed faster. I packed in silence while she stood there rambling, throwing out every excuse she could think of. It was like watching a kid desperately trying to talk their way out of getting grounded. But instead of candy or grades, this was our marriage. You weren't present. You were always working. You stopped being fun. I felt lonely. Every sentence was just another twist of the knife. Not once did she say, I'm sorry. Not once did she say, I screwed up. I zipped my bag and stood up. You've said a lot, but you haven't once said you regret it. She rolled her eyes. Of course I regret it. I regret that this got so out of hand. I stared at her. So you regret getting caught. She didn't deny it. That was the breaking point for me. The moment I knew in my bones that I couldn't stay. Not for her, not for working it out. Just not even for the faint hope that the woman I married might still be somewhere under all that poison. I walked downstairs. She followed me, arms crossed, angry now. So what? You're just gonna quit? Just throw away everything? I said, you already did. I walked out and didn't look back. I sat in my car for a while before driving off. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. But at the same time, there was a strange calm, like my brain had finally accepted reality. Like a heavy curtain had been pulled back and the truth was blinding, but real. I called my lawyer the next morning. It felt like betrayal all over again, just saying the words, I want to start the process for a divorce. But it also felt like taking control back. Filing for divorce was surreal. The kind of thing you never imagine doing when you're standing at the altar, promising forever. But there I was, sitting across from a divorce attorney named Marissa, explaining how my wife had emotionally checked out, physically cheated, and mentally rewritten our entire history like it was my fault. Marissa listened carefully, asked sharp questions, and then looked me dead in the eye and said, you're doing the right thing. This kind of manipulation, it doesn't stop. It escalates. I think I needed that validation more than I realized. That same afternoon, I served her the papers. I didn't expect a dramatic scene. I expected maybe coldness, maybe sarcasm, but she didn't even open them in front of me. She just looked at the envelope, scoffed, and said, wow, that was fast. Guess I really did marry a coward. I didn't respond. I wanted to. I wanted to shout, you think I'm the coward? You slept with another man in our bed. But I knew better. You don't argue with someone who twists every word into ammo. That night, I turned off my phone, stayed at Dan's again. He bought pizza and we drank beers and watched mindless action movies until 2 a.m. I didn't cry this time. This time. I didn't rant. I just sat there, emotionally wrung out. The fallout didn't stop there, though. Her sister texted me the next day. She's telling people you abused her, that you were controlling and emotionally distant. That hit me like a truck. I'd never raised a hand, never shouted, never once tried to isolate her. And that's what she went with? Accusing me of abuse to save face? Suddenly, the narrative was out of my hands. People we knew, mutual friends, her coworkers, started pulling away. I got the cold shoulder from her cousin at the grocery store. One of our couple friends unfollowed me on Instagram. She was playing victim, and I was the bad guy in her carefully rewritten story. It was disgusting. And still, a part of me hoped she'd come to her senses, just once. Admit the truth, apologize. But narcissists don't apologize. They rewrite history and expect everyone to memorize the new script. 3 weeks after I filed, just when things were starting to settle into a numb kind of rhythm, work, sleep, avoid social media, repeat, she showed up. Unannounced, at Dan's apartment. I'd just gotten back from the gym, still in sweats, sweaty and tired. I opened the door and there she was, wearing the same perfume I used to love and now can't stand, holding a Tupperware of homemade pasta, like we were back in year 2 of our marriage. I thought you might want something to eat, she said with a tight smile. I didn't move. What are you doing here? I miss you. I blinked. You miss me? She stepped closer, like she could just slither back into my life with marinara sauce and soft eyes. I made a mistake. I've been doing therapy. I know I hurt you, but we've been through so much. Can't we try again? She tried to touch my arm. I stepped back. I wanted to scream. I wanted to laugh. She had months to work on this, months when she chose to lie, cheat, and gaslight. And now that she saw she couldn't control the story, she wanted to play the redemption arc. I don't want your food, I said quietly, and I don't want you. Her eyes narrowed like I'd flipped a switch. You're throwing away us because I made one mistake? You keep saying one, I snapped. It wasn't one. It was lies stacked on top of betrayal, on top of manipulation. Then she changed tactics, again, from remorse to rage. You're such a drama queen, she hissed. You were never strong enough for me. I see that now. I smiled. For real. Thanks for reminding me why I left. I closed the door in her face. Locked it. She pounded once, then left. Dan came home later and asked what the hell happened. I told him. We sat on the couch eating takeout, and he said, You know what the saddest part is? She still doesn't get it. And I realized he was right. She wasn't sorry she hurt me. She was sorry she lost control. After that unexpected ambush at Dan's, I blocked her on everything: phone, email, socials. I told her through my lawyer that all communication had to go through legal channels. No more surprise visits, no more fake apologies, no more guilt tripping. I was done. And for the first time in months, I started to breathe again. I got my own apartment, small, quiet, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I picked out the furniture. I stocked the fridge with my snacks. No passive aggressive sticky notes, no weird perfume lingering in the hall, just peace. The silence was deafening at first. I'd lie awake sometimes feeling the phantom weight of her next to me, but slowly that faded. I started running again, signed up for a local 10K, reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years because she never liked them. Turns out she didn't like anyone who made me happy unless it benefited her. I even picked up guitar again, something I gave up early in our marriage because she said it was a waste of time. Funny how I thought giving up little pieces of myself was love. Turns out it was slow self-erasure. The divorce process moved forward. She contested it, of course, claimed she deserved alimony, claimed she sacrificed her prime years for me, claimed emotional distress. My lawyer shut it down. Every lie she tried to float got crushed under the weight of the messages, the affair, the timeline. That's when I realized she wasn't fighting to stay married. She was fighting not to lose. She wanted to win. Publicly, legally, emotionally. But I was already winning because I was free. Free from walking on eggshells. Free from fake smiles and forced laughter. Free from a woman who saw me as a safety net while she played with matches. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was starting to live again. Just when I thought the dust had finally settled, I got a message from someone I didn't expect. Her ex-best friend, Lauren. We hadn't talked in over a year. She always gave me kind vibes, but they had a falling out around the time the affair started. Back then, my wife said Lauren was jealous and toxic. Well, now I knew what toxic really looked like. Lauren's message read, Hey, I know it's been a while. I just wanted you to know you didn't deserve any of what she did. I stayed quiet for too long because I thought it wasn't my business, but I was wrong. She told me everything back then. It wasn't just one guy. There were at least three. I just stared at the screen. Three, not one. Three. I asked if she was sure. She sent screenshots, old texts from my wife bragging about how easy it was to manipulate me, joking about sleeping with one guy just to get free drinks and drama, and calling me boring but stable. I felt sick. It was like being punched in the gut again, but this time I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just sat there and felt cold. This woman, who once cried when I surprised her with flowers, who held my hand when my dad passed away, who I thought was my future, had reduced me to a punchline in her private soap opera. I thanked Lauren, not for the pain, but for the truth. Because finally I had the full picture. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't about me not being fun or present or man enough. It was about her, her emptiness, her need for attention, her refusal to be accountable for anything real. And somehow that gave me closure. For the first time, I stopped hoping to change. I stopped wishing she'd come clean. I stopped wanting answers from someone who'd never had any intention of being honest. I let go. The day of the final court hearing felt anticlimactic. I expected nerves, maybe anger, but honestly, I mostly felt relief. She showed up in a sleek blazer and fake tears. I showed up calm, collected, and legally armed with every message, photo, and bank statement she tried to lie about. My lawyer barely had to speak. Her story collapsed the second the judge asked about multiple partners and withholding financial documents. She kept glancing at me like she expected me to flinch, like she still thought I'd fold or fall apart. I didn't. I sat still, quiet, focused. There was a point, halfway through, where the judge looked directly at her and said, "You've provided no credible evidence of abuse or financial hardship. The affair alone would have been sufficient grounds for this divorce. But what concerns me is the repeated dishonesty." That was it. The gavel came down. Divorce granted. No alimony. Clean split. I walked out of that courtroom feeling 10 pounds lighter. She didn't look at me as we exited, just stormed past with her lawyer, heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. And that was it. After 10 years, dozens of memories, countless chances given, it ended in a silent hallway. I got in my car, drove a few blocks, parked, and just sat there. Not crying, not shaking, just breathing. Free. I texted Dan, "It's done." He replied with a single word, "Beer?" Damn right. That night we drank cheap beer on his balcony and grilled steaks. I laughed more than I had in months. Real, full-bellied laughter. Not the hollow kind I used to fake when she was watching. I looked up at the sky at one point and thought, I got out. I actually got out. And not just from the marriage, but from the lies, the gaslighting, the quiet erosion of self-worth. I was finally myself again. It's been a few months since the divorce was finalized. My apartment's still modest, still quiet, but now it feels like home. I've got plants I don't kill. I'm back in touch with my sister. I even started dating again. Nothing serious, just grabbing coffee and remembering what it feels like to be seen without being manipulated. And now, with some distance, I can say this. I was never crazy. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't too sensitive or too insecure. I was being lied to, and I knew it deep down. I just didn't want to believe it. Because believing it meant accepting that the person I loved never really existed the way I thought she did. That's the hardest part, not the cheating even. It's realizing the version of her I fell in love with was a mask, a beautiful, clever, manipulative mask. So if you're reading this and you're in a similar place, here's my advice. Listen to your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't gaslight yourself. Document everything. If you think you'll need proof later, save it now. Screenshots, emails, call logs. It's not paranoid, it's self-protection. Talk to someone, a therapist, a friend, a subreddit full of strangers who've been there. Don't isolate yourself. Leave with your dignity intact. Don't beg for love from someone who's using you. You can't win them back. They were never really yours. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel free, others you'll feel hollow. Both are normal. Just keep walking, and finally, you will be okay. You will smile again, trust again, love again. I thought she broke me, but in the end, she freed me. Thanks to everyone who read through this and offered support. I never thought I'd be one of those long Reddit stories, but here I am. Still standing, still healing, still me.